Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Andrew, and this channel is about software engineering. And I'm releasing a list of videos related to video generation pipelines. So, as you can see on my screen, I have a problem. I have a channel on YouTube which is dedicated to some, let's say, topic. And in the morning, I must prepare a few small shorts, like 10, maybe 15 seconds long, in order to satisfy some requirements I made for this channel. So there are subscribers, there are comments, some of them funny, some not. But what's important that my job in the morning is quite routine. It's about to execute script. Then I have to approve a few things, waiting for terminal input. For example, I have got some text. I read it, then I press yes, I approve it. Then I need to wait a bit till OpenAI generates some things, my local model generates some things, and then I can prepare to do a few other approvals. Then I have to execute the same script but with different arguments to get videos, and after that I must also review and approve them. I tried to reorder list of approvals, list of inputs and prompts. Unfortunately, my current schema requires me to be near terminal. So I decided to rewrite it. And the series of these streams about how I'm rewriting it, what is the progress. And as you can see on my screen, there is example of one of my pipelines. It's about quite straightforward. I have some prompt, OpenAI generates text, it's about topic. I moderated, then I made some other operation, but what's important, I have to moderate it in the end. So there is no need to wait for my input in terminal. It will simply start making pipelines, then it will wait for my approval, no matter if I go for a walk or whatever. It might wait for hours, so not a big deal. And there is architecture. Let me increase it. It's quite straightforward. There are workers which discover each other using multicast DNS. It's supported in Linux, Windows, and Mac machines. Let me show you another picture. Image viewer. Yeah. So this is one of my possibly future workers. It's Raspberry Pi 0W. It should, at least in documentation and place where I ordered it, it supports Wi-Fi. So I got SD card, an adapter for microSD. Of course, I forgot one thing. So I used to have another MacBook laptop which supported SD card, but it was a laptop from my job and I simply forgot that it's already at my job. I left. And now I'm wondering where to find an adapter. Maybe tomorrow I'll go to local store to buy it. But what I wanted to show you, it's about environment I'm going to use. See more. I need another picture with my laptops. Can I go to another? Somehow it does not want to show another picture. Maybe I should close it. Yeah, now it can. Okay, I need to update application. So this is what I have. There are two very old laptops from Apple. First, it's 4 cores, 8 gigs RAM, I think. MacBook Pro. It's okay to make HTTP requests, assemble some things locally, but it lacks GPU, it lacks some parallel processing capabilities, which I would like to see. Obviously, it can do it, but let's assume I need to generate 2 pictures using my local GPU. It won't be able to do it. So, and below I have a 4 or 5 years old laptop, which might do a few things, but still it's not even close to machine below. It's standard desktop. It has GPU, it's AMD GPU, and it's able to generate images. So that's the environment I'm going to use. And architecture in here, I use multicast DNS, and the project itself is just a binary. So I can execute that binary with config file, which simply says where is shared storage, etc. Anywhere. Maybe I can use that Raspberry Pi to make some HTTP requests behind firewall, but it's a bit different story for another stream. And let's say, yes, I have defined interface for pipeline config. It's the schema for the config. It was in previous streams, I think, 2 days ago. And at last stream, I stuck at validation. So I have one pipeline configuration of that pipeline, and I have data as well as pipeline registry. I need to validate at least 3 entities. There are 3 validations, and that's what I was doing today and yesterday. So the plans for today is to add tests for one of the blocks and fix process method. I think it's already done. Let me check. Pipelines, no, it was over here. Yes, I have done it, but to be fair, it was telling fix. There were no bugs. So, what have I done? First of all, I have updated an interface for process. Last time it was quite boilerplate, so it was nothing inside, it was empty, yielding some integer. Today it yields an error which will be correctly processed here. So in case of panic, there is logging enabled, obviously. In case of errors, if it has an error, there will be also logging and returning this error. So no panic should occur, but if something happens, binary will not die. It's important. Also, I have updated a method regarding which was doing a few things. It was new block, I think. Yeah, here. So what does it do? Let's say I have a schema. It's a schema defined for parent, and I need to validate the schema to understand that this schema is correct JSON schema. It's not just broken JSON. It's fine. It has pointer, etc. So that is one of method of constructors. Unfortunately, I don't like this. There should be better thing such as schema equals, let's assume something, and then in here in constructor itself I can say, okay, here you are, schema pointer as well as schema itself. But the schema itself, it's inside of this constructor, so it's about how well will I sleep and understanding that this thing exists. Right now, it was added today. I haven't slept, so let's see what happens tomorrow. Also, I have added unit tests for HTTP block. Let's review those tests, and first of all, let's start them. Yep, all worked. So first of all, we have construction tests. So we call new block, and then we check that all schemas has been not empty. If schema not empty, it means it is correct. Otherwise, there will be panic, I think. Yes, it should be panic in there. But what's important, we have tests. No matter what, this test should not pass empty schema. Next, there is detectors. So each block, no matter what it does, should have some sort of detection. Can it do something on this hardware or what you have dedicated? For example, it was here. Yes, I have a registry of blocks, which simply says, okay, there is block, and the way how to check it, in this case, it's HTTP block, it checks connection to google.com. There is another block responsible for OpenAI connection, and it checks connection to OpenAI. However, this block itself does not use HTTP calls to OpenAI like in classic standard way. It uses standalone library which makes those HTTP queries. And yet I must check connection that way. Obviously, I will have to rewrite it, because in this case, it just connection check. OpenAI requests, they are authenticated, which means this detection should respect token of OpenAI. In this case, it does not. So it's possible to pass there some configuration, or I can write my own detector like this. So on here I have client URI, URL in this case, and method detect. So it's possible for me to write custom detector to make authorized API requests. For example, I might ask what models available for this account. For example, it is authorized query, which shouldn't have any kind of payment API requests. And when binary starts, obviously it checks every here. There is a function named detect blocks. So when binary starts, it executes this function and simply check if block detects it's enabled. Then I wouldn't say it's enabled, it can work. Then it will simply append itself to the registry list of detected blocks. Yes, the registry, it's everything. So it's a task. Let's add it as a comment to do. Add detected OpenAI API AdSense via token. So that's what I need to do later. The test for HTTP. Let's proceed. It's detected correctly. There is a test which says there is no endpoint to answer for HTTP, which means there is no internet connection. For example, in this case, I used internal server error. However, to make it working correctly, I need to simulate network timeout. That would be better. But in this case, I just checked an error. Let me check if this detector respects timeouts. Get URL. There is no timeouts in this case. So I'll open Firefox. Let's check timeout. Oh, I can define timeout in transport, and then I can say transport. Good. Let's do it. In order not to forget, it says client. Client transport. Maybe I'll do it better. I'll make them implement so I have a config for this binary. It's stored in config YAML in this kind of format. But what's important in here, I might define some constraints. For example, I can say blocks. In here, I can say block. What was its ID? HTTP request. Yes, this one would be correct. So in this case, I can pass settings to make not just detection, but runtime of this block to respect these settings. That would be correct. So it's possible, and let me add it here. I think it should go to the very below. Come on. What happened? Yeah. Block settings. So these settings should be equal for detection as well as runtime. I don't want to separate it. Yes, because detection of OpenAI will use production token of OpenAI, which means if I run it on Raspberry Pi, it should have access to environment where it is supposed to have. So, okay, I'll proceed with it later. Fortunately, I'll add more comment to do. I'm happy that these things popped. What else? Another test. There is validation of the schema itself and validation of invalid schema. So let's assume I have invalid schema. It's not JSON. It is broken JSON. Run test. And its validation simply fails. Apply schema should use validate schema. Yes. Apply schema uses validate. And let's say else panic error. That would be correct. So the constructor of the block always makes these checks. In case of error, it should panic instantly. But one moment apply schema, there is an error. There is no respect for an error. There are a few ways how to solve it, and I would like to panic. Block schema is nil. And here apply schema. Yeah, let's do it here. If error that would be better. Return error. Yes, this will work correct. In HTTP block, it will panic instantly, as well as let's go to OpenAI block and say should also panic. Now let's run tests. I hope it won't panic. But it might, because I have a few tests with broken schemas. No, it didn't panic. Nice. It is also bad that it didn't panic, but no problems with that. So constructor in case of broken schema will yield a thing. So let's say I have broken the schema. Yes, unexpected end of file, and it's panic. It couldn't start tests because constructor failed. Beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted. So that means if I make start, it won't start because it won't even. Yes, it won't start. There is panic. And if I return it, it will start correctly because everything is fine. And it's easy to make a mistake in a JSON schema when it's declared like this. It's just a string. Oh, it started nice. Oh, and it discovered itself. That's also correct. So that's a test for invalid schema. Now tests for incorrect input. For example, the block should accept URL. I have an example of this in a pipeline itself here. I think I have, no, here it is. I'm making a request to OpenAI, which, by the way, a bit different thing, because in this case it's text-to-speech, it's another model. Its output will be file itself. I should update this pipeline, but what's important, in this case, it's nil URL, which means it should yield an error. So let's execute it. Yes, it's an error. Also, there is log level error. That's fine. It says block schema is invalid. Input URL, expected string given null. Correct. Next test, it's about everything was correct and there is some text. So this is, I think, not the last test, but what's this test about? It's about working input URL. The problem, each block must save its results to files. If it was HTTP JSON, that means I should save output to file. In this case, I do save it to file, but it's inside process block. What I mean, let's check this thing. So I have block which says OpenAI chat completion. By default, I know that it's a text. But this block does not know what input data it should work, it should await, because it says input config, there is a message, and this message body should come from this block. It will open the file generated by that block. But what if there was 200 megabytes MP3 file? It won't be good. It will be a tragedy. So I was thinking about output config. Let's assume I can say there is no array but string. There will be always string. This output config simply ensures that whatever I return is a string or text, or maybe it's MIME type of this file. But I'm still wondering if it's necessary. Let's say I'll wonder a bit more. So this checked that process won't yield an error, but it didn't check output. That's correct because we are checking process parameter. Here I'm checking that if endpoint has some incorrect status, it should yield an error. So this process should yield an error, and it should be obviously logged. So there is an error, and I'm checking that it contains some text with incorrect HTTP code. I mean, incorrect. It's not that code bad, but the server yielded that code. So there is no test for output of correct and incorrect outputs. Like, there are no tests for file content. Also, one more thing, it is important to understand that pipeline and block, it should not only save it in local file system, but also duplicate it to shared file system, shared storage. And to implement shared storage, I think I used to have that somewhere. Storage test. Yes, I have a storage class, which is responsible for list, put, and get. That is correct. So I have this implementation, and it's possible that I need to extend this class of block. It's not just process, but add one more method which will work with bytes. bytes buffer, I think. Let me check what I used here. It was output bytes buffer, yes. So I need to do following. This process, it takes block and data which comes to this block, but it yields an error, which is correct, but I don't like it. It should yield bytes buffer as well as error. Now it will be correct. And here I say result, no, var output. And it should yield this output as well as error. So the problem I would like to address why I'm doing it. This thing has no place in process. It's about work with a file. It's working with result of this process. It shouldn't be here. For example, in this particular case, I have JSON or whatever that HTTP endpoint used to contain. It might contain video chunk for big file. It might contain CSV column. I don't know. That's the reason I'm working with it like byte array, byte buffer. It's a nice interface, by the way. And I think I forgot to copy paste it. I forgot it because here the interface definition, process method, bytes buffer, and error. Nice. Now I should validate. I should do this thing in here. OpenAI processing. It yields just an error, but now it will yield bytes as well as var logger var, and then here I should not only return it but say output error as well as output nil. What else? Here. So this is a parent function which calls process. It yields an error in case of something. Let me check the test. In here I also yield an error, but it's not correct. Correct would be to update this. Processor yields process error, but should yield bytes buffer and error. Yep, that's correct. Now let's go to processor HTTP bytes buffer error, and it should be here. Bytes buffer error and return. Now it should not have any errors. Yes, because in here I should say var. It was called like this. Yes, correct. Return that and that. In this case, it will be result and error. I should assert that it's nil. In here, result. This is correct, which means assert not nil. And now this is a place where I can check the output. So Let's check if there is type check. Sweet. It was class or what? Yes, let's do this. In here it will be result. So I'm not checking file storage, shared storage synchronization. I'm checking bytes output, which should be enough to understand that that thing made its work. Not nil error. Result should be nil. And that's all, I think. Let's check. Run file tests. There should be an error for sure. Yep. Beautiful. Let's go. Let's check what happened. First of all, expected nil, but got buffer. That's correct. So it read response from where the block HTTP. It managed to read response. Response was correct. And then it copied response to the output. And then it checked status code, I think. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Status code. So it checked status code and there was an error, but output contains correct something. In this case, it's server panic. So this condition should be updated. Assert contains result string server panic. Yes. Let's check. Let's execute this again. I think it should also be something like this test, but in input validation. How much errors we have, and there is one error for now. It's here. Incorrect input URL. So empty URL, but result contains something. Let's check what it contains. It's not nil, it's empty. So what does it mean? Not empty. Yes. So nil, it's comparison versus nil, but there is sometimes like this particular buffer itself, there is empty structure, which is not nil, obviously. What should I do is update this condition and execute this test again. Did it save this test? Yes. So should not be empty, but was. Should be empty. Yes. Nil, not empty. But it's quite good thing that while updating test, you can break it in order to understand if it's at least there is some sanity check. Maybe this test didn't work at all, no matter what I do here. Or I can say not empty, but empty. This test should not work. But it's just about sanity check. Sometimes it's about copy paste, sometimes it's about in here not nil. Let's say in my, it's a library call, yeah. But in my thing, it might be related to let's exit this block and this function. Okay, let's go next. All tests in this file have passed. Let's check make test unit. This is all tests. They all have passed. That's good. It means I can proceed to remove this code. Here we don't need it because we yield output. No problems. But there will be problem. Let me check. I never tested that this process writes file. I hope. Yep, that's correct. That means I need to update. Where was that interface? Here. So I have detect apply schema, but what's most important, I have process. Let's say I need another function. It will be called save result, and another function share result. It will be bytes buffer as well, because we might share not some private data with text inside, but redacted version of this text. It's also viable. Save and share. I don't like the naming, and why it's also result. It was called output. Let's ask Copilot what does it think about synonyms of save result, output, etc. Name suggest a variable name to conform save but not share result but output. Let's check. Will it work? Save but not share result. Beautiful. Okay, is there another option? No, there are no options. That's the most complicated thing, to name variable properly in order to have some hash map in your head in 5 or 7 years. Save result, what is it? Where to save? Save local, save share. By the way, let me check. File output. Oh, come on. So I have a few things. I asked ChatGPT, and it yielded me these results. Let's say I'm not happy, but save local output. Yes, it can be, but its output local file save. Yes. Save to local only, output local save, store local. Aha, that's interesting. But okay. So I have save result, share result. That should be correct. So let's go to the parent block. In order to make it working, I need to conform it. So I need to implement those things. It will be b block parent. Let's say it will be b buffer. To be honest, it should not be one letter, but let's keep it as is. Oh, by the way, the reason why it should not be output. There are b for block parent and b for buffer. It's like, hello, we have a problem. Turn nil. So it should be nil everywhere. And the test should work. If it won't compile, that means we have a problem. Like interface implementation. It did work, nice. That means I can navigate back and it should be here, save output. So save output creates temporary file. Okay, where is logger? There is a variable for logging. It's a singleton, by the way, so there is no problem calling it multiple times. I have my config and level, and it done in once mutex, like synchronization. So it's singleton, it's fine. I have get config, which also is singleton. But I was wondering if it's necessary to include a registry of pipelines in this singleton to set up it correctly. So I'm still wondering. And it's possible that I have it only in tests. Yes, I have it only in tests. So with that, I will figure out only when I'll start implementing HTTP interface for this thing. For now, let's keep it as is. Also, var error. It should leave. Also, it yields an error itself. There is no need to return output. So it saves things into local temporary TMP folder. In Mac it will be something. That's the reason why I left this. It's log with output. The problem, it's not HTTP request. It should be block get ID. By the way, what does it do? Self ID. It should yield. Where is it? HTTP request. Yes, correct. So I have HTTP request ID, but there is no connection to pipeline. I don't know what pipeline yielded this file. It will be next thing to do. Let's say block output saved to file. Where is it? Save to local. And let's check. I think it should be somewhere in here. Let's run this and see if it will be debug. Oh, by the way, why debug? Warning. Warn F. No errors, that's good. Error. Aha. No one calls save output. That's good. So we can unit test it. Test to process output for. This to-do can be removed. By the way, all I do right now, it should be part of a plan. It tests and fix block process method. Yes, it's part for today. It's not futile job. Here it is. So I need to run a test. Func test suite. Unit test suite. I need save output. But there are a few things when I need to save output. First of all, I need to save output in case of success, and I need to save output in case of errors. Panics obviously won't save anything. It will be panic, something happened in runtime itself. It's not related to making HTTP requests. For example, HTTP request to server itself. If there is network issue, it will be panic inside. If it's timeout, there will be an error. So it can be done here. Here. So whatever response contains, it will be always in output. But if things happened, like status code, it should be in its caller. Well, let's check process method. So process method, where is it? So we are returning process. We do not check error or not. That's correct. The logic of handling errors should be dedicated to pipeline. What I'm talking about here. I have chat completion. I call process. Then I call save it to file system. This pipeline. Maybe it should be in output config. So it can be type array, whatever, but it also might contain some property. Let's call it no local cache, as well as no share. I wouldn't say it's local cache. For example, if I have, I think it's, yeah, it's in here, text to speech. Or even better, I have video without text. It should be here. Upload video, but before upload, we should join. Yes, add audio to video. So in this case, generate video from image. There is big video file which contains no audio. Why would I need to keep this in local file system? Obviously, I don't need to do that. That's the reason why I need output config. Yeah, justified. So let's move it to there was add slides. Now generate video from image. Yeah, it's here. There is input, and let's say there is output. No local file. Yes, as for shared, it should always be, except let's assume I have one in, let's see, it was in my architecture, so I'll preview to the side. Yeah, here. I have worker, another worker, and they have access to shared storage. But what if multiple pipeline blocks work in one machine? So this one, as well as Telegram, can work in one laptop, for example. Maybe it can work on Raspberry Pi itself, which means why would I need to access to shared storage if I have this file here in this temp file system? And that would be optimization, which means I need output config. But it's a bit premature optimization, to be honest. No local file. No shared file. Or even better, save. Here it is. Share output equals false, but it's not mandatory. It means it should not be 100% mandatory. It should be just recommendation. So let's add it to our big schema. I'll explain it in a comment there. Where is it? Config validation schema. Here it is. So I have output config, which contains type of this output. And let's add a thing named output config. Share output, which is type boolean, default true, as well as description. Output with other blocks, via shared storage with other workers. Storage if next worker is not in same, if next block is not in same worker. So if I have video file, if it's executed by worker in Raspberry Pi, and next action it's about let's resize this video. That means Raspberry Pi cannot resize video because of lack of GPU or whatever, maybe RAM, maybe it will take million years to resize it. That means whatever this setting says, if worker is not able to make an operation, it should always share. Yes, that's correct. Share output file with share output file via shared storage if next block is not in the same worker. The block is not detected. At current worker. That's correct. So if machine has capability to do thing, it will declare block as registered. There is a block registry. It's in file name detector. Here it is. So in here right now I'm working with OpenAI, etc. But what if Raspberry Pi can make only OpenAI? What if I declare it in here? Blocks. That will be correct. Now I have this option. By the way, let's run the test. If schema is not correct, it will fail. Every test will fail. Yes, it failed. Beautiful. So where did it fail? Pipeline schema is invalid. For pipeline, output config type is required. So in here, I said type for output config is required. Type, and let's say I also need format. Let's call it false. Yes, let's make it that way. Where is it? Output config type string format file. I used it somewhere above. So we have a file. What does it mean? It means that it will be URI, which means URI. Like it's it can start with S3 and they say OS. Like this. And the format file, at least in my implementation of this JSON schema, it ensures that there is not big string, but regular expression. So output should be an uploaded file. So now the test should work. Let me check it. Yes, tests work. But what if Even better, I'll do share output by default false. So since it always saves file locally, even better, if worker is available locally, there will be only local file saving. Otherwise, it will share. That would be correct, and that means I don't need this at all. Goodbye. So in here, let's leave it. Yeah, let's leave it because it's not breaking anything, I think. Let's ensure, let's run unit test. And it does not. Nice. New blockage, and that is a place where I must figure out if registry of this binary supports next block. Yes, that's correct. It all started with, let's write a test. So this save output, let's say pipeline controls what it will be saving, sharing, maybe both. Right now, unit test of this save output should ensure a few things. Hello world. This so I have a handler which yields correct result. Then I have block. Okay. Then I'm processing the block. I must ensure that it was in output. However, there is a test which makes this. But what's most important, save output should yield result. Yes, that's correct. And there is another problem. How would I pipeline? It controls share output or local output. Save. But it's about optimization. If my file is 1 GB long, this buffer, I need to understand what's inside. Can it work with pointer to that buffer? Should I reset that buffer? Like, let me check. For example, I have here. So let's assume it's 1 GB of data. So save output works with 1 GB of data. That's correct, because I need to save it to local file system. Share output also works with 1 GB of data. That's also correct. It seems like to be correct. But what if both methods are called by pipeline? That means, should I work with 2 GB? It's not good. But first method should work with gigabyte of data. Second method should work with link to the file which was saved already. So we have a problem. There are two possible things I can do. First of all, I should ensure that output seek. There is no seek method. I cannot reset the buffer. What? read, unread. I have unread. Unread by one. Okay, that's tough. I don't like it. To be honest, I need a pointer. But since I don't work with files more than 1 megabyte, it should not be a problem. Let's do this. After this project is done, I'll execute it using Raspberry Pi. And if my Raspberry Pi has its temperature outside of acceptable bounds, I'll start optimizing the binary. That's the only way to understand if real usage is, if these, to be honest, bad interfaces, but if they are acceptable for my use case. If it's 10 bytes long, then yes, it's acceptable. But if it's 1 gigabyte, then that should be acceptable. It's a pointer. In this particular case, process should yield a pointer. Let's do it. Because with that, I wouldn't be able to sleep correctly. Process yields a pointer. These two things should work with the same pointer. Now it's correct. Now I can say, okay, where is the process? Here. And then here, var bytes buffer. Yep, now it's correct, as well as block HTTP. Where is it? What's wrong in there? Cannot use it. Ah, I forgot. It's somewhere in interface as well. Block go. Where is that process? Here. It yields bytes buffer. It should be no. Bytes buffer. In here, I say processor process bytes buffer. No problems. Now I go to the processor itself to ensure that yes, there is. Here it is. I'm copy using yes. And OpenAI, there is also bytes buffer, as well as here. Now test should not fail. Okay, I'm 12 minutes overtime, sorry. Fortunately, something failed. I like it. That means I have an error. Where is it? Runtime error, nil pointer. It is here. Nice, let's run this test. It should have an error. Good. It's HTTP, which means this block. Where is the problem? Oh, I'm here. It says result is nil. Why is it? Let's add one more condition. Result is nil. Nice. That means let's go to process method. By default, result is a pointer which is nil. What if I say that's very bad? I don't like it, but let's go, let's check. Run test. Same error. So I declare this as empty, as a pointer to buffer. The problem is definitely here. The problem is process method. Wait, what? It says there is no error. Uh, 150th. No error because it's empty. So let's go. I need pointer to buffer as well as error. It's block HTTP, but I need this one. So result is bytes buffer. Yes, correct. I recover. Let's remove recover because it's one of the places which might obscure things. It does obscuring things. Here. Of course. There was buffer a pointer without anything. And the real error was obscured by recover. So if I run this test again, it should work. Magic. Yes, it does work. Now I return this defer. What happens? Everything is correct. Nice. Let's save. That's why I don't like recovers. There is logger error, block panic. So it, in perfect case, it should say somewhere block panic. Nil doesn't contain server panic. Okay, let's check block. It does contain this log entry, block, panic runtime, invalid memory address or nil pointer difference. Yes, and it obscures an error. It's block HTTP, which means now I'm definitely protected. I don't need to check it for nil. It will be empty buffer, which is like nothing. So we can start testing again. Every test passed. Good, good, good. So I have tested that save output yields no error, but I haven't checked is there any file created. That's the problem. Because I had, let's say, code decision for the interface named detector, and it's loading. Yeah. So in this case, I declared detector and passed some parameters to the detector, for example, client, which means in HTTP test, I might, in this case, where is it? Detection test. Here. I can say, okay, there is client, and there is URL you need to check. After that, I simply check that this client made request to my mock endpoint, my mock server. But what to do with this? There is a file which must be written. This file has a name like temp slash private var whatever. I cannot simply watch for the directory for new file. It's bad. But what I can do is yield a name of this file. That would be correct. So I go back to block interface. Say, let's see with this interface. I can say there is string. That string will be name of a file, name of a shared file with a protocol like S3 or whatever. So in where we were here, should updated string none. In here it will be the same string error, and in here I should say if I couldn't create a file, there will be empty string. If I couldn't write to file, it will be as well as empty string because it's something. But in case of success, I should yield a file name. So here. Do I need warning? No, I need debug. Is debug info in case of this error info? Yes. Defer only in case of it happens. Yes. So in this case, I say file name error. Then I need read file content. Let's check. I don't believe it's correct. Content, it's byte array. Okay, this test should pass. It passed. So let's break it. Let's make uppercase save. It should fail. Yes. And here is why. So I return save back and this test should work. Good. Also, there is one more thing. I need to ensure that this file name is not empty. Not empty. Not empty file name. So this should always be correct file name. Yes. And now I run make test unit. Yes, everything passed. So there is one more test to add. It's about how to simulate that output could not be saved. That means for some reason temporary directory is not available on this particular machine. What should happen? Disk might be 99% used and my file is 1 terabyte of size, and that means there is definitely not enough. Yeah, that's good idea. So to do imp no, I need not make it to do, I need to make it correct. Block save output, no space left. Was it called space on device space? No space on device left. Yeah, that's correct. So how to simulate this situation? There are a few ways. Copilot suggests something. Yes, Copilot says there is nothing useful about let's simulate temporary directory overflow. So let's check. Create temp creates a new temporary file and directory, opens it for reading and writing, returns resulting file. Okay, there is a pattern. File created. Yes, if there is empty string temp. Okay, that's correct. Multiple programs calling will not choose same file. That's also good. But how to simulate device having problems? Let me check. I might move this to separate method. That means so what I want to press here, it's output, and let's say I have some method or maybe even class which says save mechanism, which is a pointer or not a pointer to some better storage. Yes. And then in this test I can say, okay, save me output to storage. No, like this. Storage capacity. So I might implement some sort of storage adapter, which will ensure that yes. So I can say storage. It's just a class. There is another storage free. It might be an interface for some storage, and then I can use pattern name strategy that will help me to do a few things. First of all, I can work with local storage. Then I can work with shared storage. After that, that shared storage might have some subclass named Amazon bucket. Maybe it will be mini IO bucket with some custom stuff. So I have this storage somewhere. Here it is. So it's an interface which contains a few things such as list, put, get. Beautiful. And I have a class for mini IO storage. That's remote storage I have on one of my laptops. That means I can create here type local storage, correct? And that local storage should implement some methods. Let me check. Yeah, here it is. Mini IO storage implements all methods from here. So I can say local storage like empty entity, and then I can copy paste. Let's not copy paste. Like this. Array of strings. Okay. Even better, make array of strings with 0 size. So I might have this local storage, then for test purposes, I can instantiate this thing to here and say it local storage. It won't be just local storage, it will be no space. Maybe it should be somewhere in main test level here. And let's make a comment. Simulate no space left on device. And in this case, I can say no. List objects, it's empty array. Put object. No matter what we have, there should be an array, an error. fmtrf. No space left on device. Beautiful. Get object should yield error. Same thing. Yes, it's not used, but what is the problem? By default, get object, this whole interface was created for remote stuff, and remote thing, it was downloading remote file to local file system in order to work with it. There is nothing here, it's just an error. To be honest, it should be a string error. To yield an error, string error, and here it should yield not an error but empty string. And in this case, it should yield object name file path. Yes. So in here I should say string as well, up to the string. Return. So I will take care about this implementation a bit later, but what's most important, I have this storage here. I need somehow to declare it's here, storage types, storage. And then I need to navigate to this interface itself. Where was it? Here. Bytes buffer, storage, share output, storage. Oh, I don't need share output because I have save output, which will definitely say there is local storage, remote storage, or whatever storage I want. That's correct. Save output. That means I don't need this. Where was it? Yep. I don't need this one. As well as I don't. Where is OpenAI? It wasn't. Okay, it's here. Save output result. Func new local storage yields new local storage. That's correct. And in this case, where is it? I should say types new local storage. So I should yield results to that storage. Let me check every method related to save output. So it was an example. Let's do correct version about there was response, and we are saving this. No space left on storage. Why it's not here? Undefined. That should be fine. What value? Ah, wait a second. It's not implementing one thing from interface, which was a string error. And for some reason there is no formatting in here, but does not implement type storage method. Get object has pointer receiver. Where is it? Ah, of course. Here it is. I need to copy paste. It should be named instead of what I've done. Put object, and in here it also should have names and well as list objects. To be honest, I don't like list objects, but what happened now? What we have? Let's start this test. Maybe it's some validation issue. No, it's not. Method get object has pointer receiver. Let's check. Ah, I forgot the pointer. What? Storage test here. Now it should work. Let's run storage test in order to ensure that yes, it works. It's not S3 storage, it's mini EO storage. Yes, that's correct. I will also need to add more tests for local storage. But for now, I'm interested in this particular test. It should yield an error, which means this test should pass. Okay, let's say not nil. Save output, not nil. So this test expected value not to be nil. Yeah, this one is correct. So there should be an error. File name should be empty because we couldn't save, no file. Why? Now I go to the block itself to understand that, okay, I declared storage, but still there is nothing related to storage, which means it's time to write implementation of local storage. Where is that storage? Local storage, list objects, that does nothing. That's wrong, but let's leave it as is because there will be tests to understand that list/temp works correctly. What I'm interested, it's put object. Put object should create object somewhere. Bucket. Dir. No, let's call it directory. file path. So in case of remote storage, it is bucket and full and file name. In local storage, let's call it file name. In here it will be directory and file name. That's correct. So what do I mean by file name? In here I work with temporary files. So in this case, I need a workaround, because in the end I will need this create temp, but this put object itself, it says let's put the object. So in this case I need temp file, but in here I say storage file name error equals storage object. And now I need to do a few things. First of all, I need temporary directory of this, where to put it. Copilot suggested me to pass empty directory and then just say, okay, there is file name. It is correct, to be honest, because file name contains full path. But there is another problem. Remote storage requires files to exist. Local storage does not require files to exist. So remote storage needs a file to be put somewhere. Let me check. Put object file path, which means I have this file, I will put it. Yes. In this case, I have byte. I don't have file name. So that's awesome problem. I stuck. It's already 35 plus minutes over time. So August. I didn't add tests for, but I did fix process method. 50% of target is achieved. Completed 50% and fix. So I have fixed process method. It works as it is intended. It simply, where is block? Hello block. Detect. So it accepts data and yields raw bytes, nothing more. It yields simple buffer. But there is a problem. I haven't added test for OpenAI. Next stream will be at August 31st. First of all, I need to define storage, define interface. Remote and local storage such as those parameters are remote local storage work with bytes buffer as well as files. Remote, maybe. So this is my plan for August I must have it at August 31, and let's copy it. One target which I didn't achieve today. So let's go back to storage. It's possible that I need to make this interface more abstract. It's not list objects. It's list objects for remote storage, but for local storage it lists files, list directories. Okay, let's leave it as list objects. It can be compromised, but put object, it should not only accept string, but put object bytes, which is bytes buffer. That is correct. Get object, that is good. Get object bytes. So get object by default, what it was doing, it was simply downloading the file to local. That's fine. But string bucket, object name, and file where to save it. Good. Bucket, object name, and here is what I want. The idea will be a bit different. I would like for local storage to work with both of them as well as remote. Yeah, it would be correct thing. Okay, I'll do it next 2 days, and this test should be working, which means I have some storage, which method put object always yields an error, and in this case, in case of save output, it uses interface methods, it ignores anything else, but I don't like this one. It creates temporary file and makes temporary names. Maybe in case of storage implementation, I think this one. Let's do it. Yeah, here. I say, okay, there is bucket and I have a file, put it. It's absolutely correct in case of remote one. But what if I don't have file for remote storage? That means let me copy that. Buffer error. So it will be bucket. And then file content. Also, let's update this thing, because in case of local storage, it will be in case of local storage, it will be directory and then buffer itself. So in here, return nil. It should be the same. So maybe I should copy paste it. Return put object. But in here I make temporary file. I can simply copy paste it. So save output to temporary file. Okay, output for mini. It's not text. I don't know what it is. It is important, but there is a problem. A lot of Nginx, etc. do detect content based on this text there. But what if it's CSV, or even better, it might be some binary MP3. That means I need to detect file using first bytes. there is some content detector. It reads portion of a file and then detects what it is. It's also not safe, but it considered to be quite fine. I remember it's as a magic content type, content type detector use to the MIME type. Yeah, it was MIME type. Yeah. So by default, everything saved by remote storage. For me, it's octet stream. It's just byte array. It's unsafe. I don't know what's inside, but it was yielded by my workers, by my blocks. No problems, because these blocks will thread everything as unsafe. Don't execute it. Read it only in case of whatever. So in this case, I should simply say there is temporary file is correct. Then I should say temporary file, write file content bytes. By the way, it should be a pointer. Where it is put pointer, and in here I should yield pointer as put object. And what should I put? Bucket, yes. Then temporary file name, yes. That's all. So working with bytes is quite straightforward. Return error, in this case return error. So I simply save it to somewhere. By the way, why it's mp3? Let's make it this like. It's tempting to pass one more thing, file name or file content MIME type, but I have it here. Let's make it panic. Yeah, that would be correct. So even if I forget about it, it will panic. That's awesome. The same I will do with local storage. In case of I'm passing bytes, it will create a local temporary file name. But what's important, it's here. It means I can remove it. Yes, I'm working with storage interface. I'm not working with anything else. File name error put object bytes. Directory, I don't know this directory, where it is. Let's correct. It will yield file name and error itself. Fortunately, in the test, I have a storage crafted for this particular purpose, which yields no space left on device. That's one test which highlighted so much problems, and I'm happy about it. So thank you for watching my stream. It's like 1 hour overtime. See you in a few days, and thank you again. Bye.